So today is day 2 of section 3, so it's chapter 4, 3b, and we're continuing on with the conics. Today what we're going to do with the parabolas is we're going to write equations. We're going to be given a piece of information or several pieces, and you'll be able to come up with the appropriate equation for that parabola. So here is our steps. So when we're finding the equation of the parabola, if the vertex is at 0, 0, you're going to use the information that's given to you to find the value of p, and it's also going to be able to tell us the direction of the parabola. And then once we find the p-value, we'll plug it back in to either the x squared equals 4px, and that would be the graph that looks like a C or a backwards C, so it'd be facing left or right. And then if it's facing up or down, then it'll be the x squared equals 4py. If your vertex is not at 0, 0, then we're going to use that longer equation that includes the h and the k. And again, if it's got the y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h, that'll be facing left and right. And then when it's that bottom one with the x minus h squared, that would be facing up or down. And again, your p-value tells you how they're going to face, if it's up or down or left or right. So let's go ahead and try some examples. So again, these are both with the vertex at 0, 0. So what we're going to be using for this is either the x squared equals 4py. And remember that when it's the x squared, if the parabola is facing up, you knew your p-value is positive. If it's facing downward, the p-value is negative. And then when it's the y squared equals 4px, this is going to be the c, and that's when the p-value is positive, or the backwards c, and it's facing to the left, and this is when p is negative. Now, to determine how our graph is going to be facing, what I recommend you do is do a rough sketch of your given information. So I'm going to go ahead on number 1. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick little sketch here, put my focus point on the graph and my vertex. So my vertex is at 0, 0. And my focus point is the order pair 2, 0. So it's over here. So this is my focus. And my vertex is at 0, 0. Now, remember from Friday, your parabola always surrounds the focus. So this is going to tell me how my graph opens. And this one's opening to the right. So I know I'm going to be using the y squared equals 4px. Remember, the p-value is the distance that the vertex is from the focus. So we can see by doing this little rough sketch here that it's going to be 2 spaces away. Now, you can also recall from Friday that when your vertex was at the origin at 0, 0, your focus point is p, 0. So my p-value is right here. It's 2. So now all I'm going to do is come over here and replace in this standard form. I'm going to take out the letter p, and in its place, I'm going to put the number 2. And then I'm going to multiply. And my standard form is now y squared equals 8x. And I'm done. For number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give myself a little rough sketch here so I can see which way my graph is going to open up. So again, I'm going to place my vertex at 0, 0. This time my focus point is on the y-axis. It's the order pair 0, 3/8. So I could say it's right here. I know I'm not going to go by ones. So this is my focus. And again, remember, when your graph is opening up or down, your focus point is 0, p. So again, my p-value is right there. Again, remember your parabola graph surrounds the focus. So it like wraps around it. So my p-value, because it's opening upward, is positive, and it's that 3/8. And now all I do is I know from up above where I wrote it, I'm using the x squared graph or equation, x squared equals 4py. Again, I'm going to take out p and in its place put 3/8. I'm going to then multiply it by 4, and then I leave the x squared and the y alone. So put in 3/8 for p, multiply 4 times 3/8, and my final equation is x squared equals 12 over 8. I do need to simplify this fraction. This will actually simplify. I can divide them both by 4, so x squared equals 3 over 2y. Y squared equals 8 over 3x, and you're done. So again, give yourself a visual. Remember, the graph of the parabola surrounds the focus. You can see that it's the letter C. So then I know I have this equation that I'm working with. And again, the p-value is the distance that the focus is from the vertex. And it's 2/3 away. I plug that in for p, I multiply, and I'm done. Next one's a little different. Yes?
Wait, can you repeat what the P stands for?
The p is how far away the focus point is from this vertex. So I know my graph isn't going by ones. I just put a little dot here saying that it's 2/3, 0. So it's 2/3 away from the vertex, the focus. So it's always the distance between the vertex, the distance between the vertex and the focus, or the vertex and the directrix. So it's a distance. All right, next one. Notice this hint here. So whenever you see that your vertex is on the vertical axis, this is going to tell me it's the up and down graph. If it were the word horizontal, that would be the left and right graph. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a visual again. So my vertex is at 0, 0. So because I see that the axis of symmetry is this vertical axis, when I go to graph this order pair, this -2, 12, it's going to be over here, and I'm going to put it just up here somewhere. So this is my -2, 12. And just so I know how to connect my vertex to that point, I'm looking at the word vertical axis. So this is how I know that my graph is going to open up like this versus going like the letter C, because of the word vertical axis. So it's the up and down graph, because I see that word vertical axis is my axis of symmetry. So the equation I'm using is going to be the x squared equals 4py. Now, this time I don't have any information about the focus or the directrix, and I need that p-value. And again, p is the distance that the focus is from the vertex or that the vertex is from the directrix. So what I'm going to do instead is I have an ordered pair here. Remember, when you have an ordered pair, the first number is x, the second number is y, and I'm going to plug those two in for the x and the y and solve for p. Then once I get p, then I plug it back in like I did the other ones. So I'm going to place -2 for x and square it. I'm going to put 12 for y. So I square the -2. I'm going to multiply the 4 and the 12, and I get 48. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 48, giving me a p-value of 1/12. And again, it's opening upward. You can see that your p-value is positive. Now that I have the p-value, now I can go back to this original equation, so the x squared equals 4py, and now I'm just going to plug in the p I just found and then leave the x and the y there. So x squared equals 4 times 1/12. Multiply 4 times 1/12, and I get 4/12, which I guess I can show it first, and then I reduce it to 1/3. Everybody good? Now, recall back on Friday, sometimes you were given equations that look like this, and you had to isolate the x squared. So these are actually the same thing. But again, to find the p-value, remember you had to isolate. And then once I did that, I got the 1/3 y, which is what I just got there. So either of those would be acceptable answers here. Let's go ahead and try numbers 5 and 6. So again, for number 5, the two formulas that I'm going to be using are going to be the y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. This one is for the backward C and the forward C, or the left and the right opening. And then you also have the x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. This would be for the up and down. And again, p-value positive, it's up. P-value negative, it would be down. And then the left and the right, when it's opening left, p is negative. When it's right, p is positive. So now let's go ahead again, give ourselves a visual. It helps. That way you'll know which one of the equations you're using to substitute in your p-value. So again, give myself a little rough sketch. I'm graphing the vertex at the order pair 1, 3. So my vertex is here. My focus is at -1, +3. Again, the focus the parabola surrounds the focus. So you can see it's opening backwards to the left. So I'm going to be using the y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. Now, all we need to do is plug in h and k. So that's what we get from the vertex. And then we also need the p-value. Now, I can get the p-value two different ways. Remember, the p-value is how far away is that focus from the vertex. Because I gave myself a visual, I could count the little spaces here, and it's 2 spaces away. Because it's opening backwards, my p, or it's opening to the left, my p is -2. I could also take the coordinates in my vertex and my focus and subtract them. So the two that are different, so that would be the 1 and the -1. So -1 minus 1, and my p-value is -2. Either way. So now I'm going to replace the k, the p, and the h. So y minus 3 squared, 4 times -2, and then x minus 1. All I have to do is multiply the 4 and the p, so that gives me -8. I leave everything else the same. And I'm done. So for number 7, again, I'm going to just draw a quick little sketch, draw both of the pieces they've given me, my vertex, and now my directrix. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's this line right here. So again, this tells me that it's always behind my parabola. So my parabola is going to be opening to the left. So this tells me the equation I'm using is the y squared equals 4px. And again, The p-value that I'm looking for is the distance from the vertex to the directrix, and it's 4 spaces away. 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's opening backwards. So this tells me my p-value is -4. So let's plug that -4 in for p. Y squared equals 4 times -4. Y squared equals -16x. And I'm done. Next one's bringing back another ordered pair. Again, remember the ordered pair is going to be our x and our y on number 8. Pretty good on 7. Okay, again, I'm going to give myself a visual. Draw my coordinate plane, my x and my y axis. Place my vertex here. And then I'm going to place the ordered pair that they gave me. Now again, vertical axis, this means that it's up and down. So if I want to connect my vertex to that point, I'm going to go ahead and make my graph go open downward. And now, because it's up and down, and my vertex is at 0, 0, I'm using the x squared equals 4py. I need to do some extra work here because I have an x and a y. I don't have a p-value yet. So -2 squared equals 4p times -2. -2 squared is 4. 4 times -2 is -8. And now I divide by -8. P is equal to -4/8, which simplifies to -1/2. I now take that p-value, and I'm going to rewrite the equation I wrote initially, write it down again, but this time all we're replacing is the p. So we get x squared equals 4 times -1/2. X squared equals -2. Y. And we're done. Number 9. Again, give yourself a visual. This time we've got an H and a K. Our vertex is not at 0, 0. So we have an H and a K. And we also have the focus point. So we can go ahead, graph these. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. This is my vertex. And then my focus is going to be over here at +1, +2. Again, your graph surrounds the focus. So it's opening to the left. This tells me the equation I'm using is going to be the y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. Now, I can also get my p-value. So then now once I figure out p, I just have to replace the k, the p, and the h, and then just multiply 4 times p. So it's opening to the left. So this tells me my p is negative. And again, because I have a visual, I can see that the focus is 2 spaces away. So my p is going to be -2. I could also use the numbers up here in my order pairs and do 1 minus 3, and I get -2. If you did 3 minus 1, just realize you would get a +2, but because it's opening to the left, it's negative. Let's replace the 3 values for h, k, and p. So y minus 2, get that from the vertex. P is a -2, and my h is +3. All I have to do is multiply these two, and final answer, y minus 2 squared equals -8, x minus 3. And I'm done. Now the next one is different because they're giving us the focus and the directrix. They didn't give us a vertex this time. But remember, the vertex is the midpoint. between the focus and the directrix. So it's easy enough to find. So again, let's get the two pieces of information they've given us onto a graph. So here's my coordinate plane. 0, 0 is the focus. Make sure you take your time and you read. The directrix is at y equals 4. So it's up here. Let me make some little marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my directrix is up here. It's y equals 4. Remember, the vertex is going to be right smack dab in the middle. It's the midpoint. So I could actually, since I have a visual here, I can see that my vertex is going to be located right here at the order pair 0, 2. You could pick a point on the y-axis and you could do the midpoint formula to find the midpoint, but when you have a visual and it's this close, you can figure out where the middle is. So because my vertex, because I have an h and a k, I've got to use the longer formula. And again, your graph is opening downward because the vertex is here. It surrounds the focus and the directrix is behind it. So the equation I'm using is x minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. So the vertex we found, the 0, 2, this is h, this is k. I can see that the focus is 2 spaces away from the vertex, and so is the directrix. So all I need to do, and it's also opening downward, so my p-value is -2. So let's replace the 3 letters. So we get x minus 0 squared equals 4 times -2 y minus 2. I can subtract x minus 0, it just becomes x squared. I need to multiply the 4 and the -2, that gives me -8, and then I just leave the y minus 2. And I'm done.